Cello, we have reached the final week of the year before the Super Bowl. How you feeling?
Uh, I feel, a little old, a little broken down, had a big hockey championship the other night and it's just not getting easier. It's getting harder to win these things. But sure enough, hoisted the cup, pounded some beers, had some laughs, iced the Achilles,
Nice.
and, going to sling it tomorrow in football. The right arm is back. It takes about 6 days to get it back, and then we're back out there. So all things considered, I think for 54 and change, the body's holding up, Jack. What can I tell you?
Good for you. Feeling good, looking good. Glad you guys won the chip again. So you repeated, right? You won last year. You guys are the best team, right?
We did win last year, one of the sessions, but this was our first 40 and over championship at this new rink, and we basically dethroned the perennial division champs.
Nice
in an overtime thriller. Now my next thing would be for you to fix my golf swing before the spring and maybe get my handicap down to 10, which is a dream.
Come on in.
Yeah, I need some work on that.
I want to get you on video. I want to get you into some new clubs. Going to take care of all that stuff.
Yeah, let's get one of these stocks to double and I'm in for everything.
Well, let's recap last weekend for a few minutes.
Yeah.
We went
disappointed, but oof.
I think let me pull up the sheet. I mean, we collectively I think went we only agreed on 2 picks, right? And I think we went 1-1. We only agreed on Buffalo and Jacksonville, right?
Yeah, it was a weekend of mediocrity. I mean, we both went 2-2 on the weekend. We both
if only we could have convinced each other of our picks, and maybe that's what we should really try to do in today's show, is really try to convince the other. Yeah, I haven't made my picks yet. I don't know. I think you may have put your action in and want to make a bet, but I haven't released my picks to the wanttomakeabet.com community. And let's just see here. So yeah, we were, oh gosh,
you lost Buffalo.
Well, we had in order, we both had the Jags.
Yes.
We did not agree on Philly and the Giants. You were very bullish on the Giants. I had Philly. We both did have Buffalo. And we split on San Francisco and Dallas. You liked San Fran, and I
had San Fran for the winner. But the one that really hurt the most was going Saturday night, hoping that Giant game would be competitive, and just right out of the gate, they win the toss, they defer to the second half, which I always like on the record. There's never a scenario where I don't want the ball in the second half. Mm-hmm. But in this instance, looking back in it, with Philly's high-powered offense and the Giants basically immediately going down 7-0.
Wait, so the Giants, you're saying the Giants won the toss?
Giants won the toss and deferred, which I normally, I would do that pretty much every time.
Yeah.
Thinking back in it, you say to yourself, well, even if you took the ball and maybe muscled out a first down, and punted, you're at least into the game and you're not automatically down 7-0. I mean, I felt like Philly took that ball and they were just unstoppable right out of the gate, and they just marched down the field like a hot knife through butter. And the Giant defense was just getting pushed around. I mean, and that was a theme that continued the whole night. I mean, they lost the battle in the trenches on both sides the entire game. It was a non-competitive football game.
Yeah.
And I thought Dable's decision on the first possession on a 4th and 8, near midfield, to go for that on 4th and 8, it just made no sense to me. I mean, I don't understand how you don't punt there, try and angle a kick in there, put them inside the 10 and make them come 90 on you to go up 14-0 if they're going to do it. Instead, they gave them the ball like on a short field. And before I even went to take a piss and came back, it was 14-0.
Yeah, I felt the same thing. That was that felt desperate to me. Like,
yeah, I don't understand
it. It's sort of like you're trying to play field position football, and that no one's going to judge you for being too conservative on the opening drive if you're at midfield and you punt it. It's not late in the game. It's not second half. It's not like you've worn out all your options. It's not like your defense was even getting beat yet. Right. And it's just setting the tone. It felt desperate. I totally agree.
I mean, 4th and 3, I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
4th and 8,
Right.
I'm punting.
Right.
And
Yeah,
I
I think
think
even the analytics would say you don't go for that. So I don't know if he overrode both data and like the conservative mindset to just be like, I'm not gonna be, I'm just going for everything in this game.
yeah, that's the only listen. I think Dable's an amazing coach, and I think that he, because of him, the Giants far exceeded their expectations this year, and still in all had a good season despite getting their asses kicked by
Yeah.
Philadelphia, who literally, listen, Philadelphia before Hurts got injured was 13-0. They were the last undefeated team in the league.
Mm-hmm.
They were really strong on both sides of the ball at every position. They have depth. They have a good coach. So there's no shame in losing to the best team, in your division, certainly, and also maybe in the conference. So, would you have liked? I mean, I would have liked to have seen a better effort up front. I mean, I thought the rookie tackles, I mean, the kid Evan Neal out of Bama, I mean, I know he's a rookie, but man, he got destroyed by Reddick, and Reddick's, listen, I mean, the Eagles have 70 sacks going into the game. It's the most in the league. So you knew they were going to bring it, and you didn't know how these well, obviously Thomas is not a rookie anymore, and he's really gotten better in his 3rd year, he acquitted himself well on the other side. And then you look on the other side of the ball with Kelsey and with Lane Johnson and with all those guys up front. I mean, they mauled the Giant defensive line. I mean, they literally were taking them in some instances 3, 4, 5 yards down the field and burying them on the ground. So this was, men versus boys. I did not see that coming. And I'll tell you what killed a lot of people in Megabucks were the Giants did not get there even plus 21 in these 4-team teasers. And that was a wrecking ball to the league.
Oh, yeah. It was. I mean, that's still the most shocking thing to me from last weekend. And that's a little less shocking, given the fact that the Giants were on the road and they were getting 7.5. Like you could argue that wasn't that surprising, right? Because they're a big underdog. But the more surprising one was the Buffalo Bills were only able to put up 10 points at home. When they were laying 5, let's say 5.5, and in a 4-team teaser, getting 13, let's say they were getting 7.5 points in a lot of those 4-team teasers and couldn't cover that, and that destroyed people.
Yeah, I mean, I cannot believe how small they showed up in that game, especially in the snow at home. You'd think they'd have an advantage there, but I mean, Burrow, I think, just outsmarted them.
Yeah. But don't you agree that loss by Buffalo has the potential, I'm not saying it will, has the potential to do a lot more damage than what happened to the Giants? I mean, that is a demoralizing loss for the franchise.
Oh, yeah, totally. The Giants are an ascending franchise. Buffalo, I felt like was a team that got close last year with that. I guess it was 13 seconds left, and they blew, or 18 seconds, and they blew
12,
that game.
I think. Yeah.
After to Kansas City, which was just mind numbing. They spent all off season preparing and building to get to that point, and they come up and they have a home game, in the round before, and they can't even get to the AFC Championship. I mean, that is taking a step back in an unlikely scenario. I don't know how to read that, and I know they have some free agents, and I know that Edmonds is a free agent. I know he's already been, his brother down in Pittsburgh's been talking to him, and if Tomlin and Omar can find a way to free up some money, I mean, that would not be shocking to me if we ended up the Steelers with Edmonds at middle linebacker, which would be enormous for the Steelers, obviously, because we can't stop the run. We need guys that can tackle, in the middle, because Bush is done. So I just think what you're saying is right. I think that's a real setback loss for Buffalo, and the Giants, I think, are just going to add pieces and continue to grow.
Yeah. What did you think about the first game last week, Chiefs-Jags? I mean, we got there with the cover with the late field goal, but
God,
I thought the Jags, of all the underdogs last week, they did, in my mind, have the best chance. Well, Cincinnati won the game, but the Jags had a real chance to win that game also, and there were some unfortunate things. There were some. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but there were some very favorable whistles for the Chiefs that I thought from watching the game. I thought there were two very key plays. for Jacksonville. Like
Well,
when Agnew got tackled by the kicker, which
yeah,
to me was like, that was looking like it was going for a touchdown. So Agnew had two bad plays there.
yeah, that poor
Um,
kid. That fumble. I mean, the
and
fumble
the
changed
fumble.
the fumble changed the game. I mean, they were going in, and that would have made it. At that time, would they have gotten the lead on that? I don't
I think
recall
so.
exact. I think they would have,
Yeah.
but I mean, that poor kid, he definitely isn't going to be sleeping, or probably still isn't after that. But he's a young player. But what a critical mistake inside the 10-yard line there to even make that kind of a move. Like, started to run almost with the ball before he had it secured, type of
Mm-hmm.
thing. And God, I mean, that is just such a costly turnover, and teams don't recover from that. I mean, it reminded me of,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say like the Ernest Biner game, but like things like that
Yeah,
when you
that's
have
totally
momentum,
different.
though, and you're going in and you're inside the 5, and it's always that fumble, that critical
Oh yeah.
turnover that turns the game on its
Like
side.
when
And
Baltimore's was much worse, but when Huntley tried to reach it over
yeah,
and got
and
stuffed
Hubbard,
and
yeah,
fumbled.
that was unreal.
I still can't believe how unfortunate that was, that not only did they not get it, but they fumbled, and the fumble was recovered and taken 99 yards for a
By a
touchdown.
defensive lineman.
That's so unlikely,
Totally.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
That,
it's one thing to
listen,
fumble, but you figure you're going to end up there. Okay, you're playing defense and you got them pinned back, but Jesus, was that brutal?
so this is the thing about that. Like, I think about that game, and how you handicap Cincinnati this week, after they absolutely was a masterful dismantling performance of Buffalo on the road. I mean, Joe Burrow was sacked one time. I
Yeah,
remember telling you that in games where he had been sacked more than
yeah.
5 times, he had never won. And I was anticipating 7 or 8 sacks. And I remember you were out and you texted me and you're like, how many sacks do we have? And we only had one. And I knew right then, late in the first half, that Buffalo was in trouble,
Yeah.
because they could not, no matter what they did, because of the loss of Von Miller. And I thought guys like Ed Oliver, and they have some other young players that had grown, would be able to get to him with the weak offensive lineman that Cincinnati had been starting there. But his game plan was amazing. So anytime he had pressure from the outside, he stepped up in the pocket and mostly didn't run.
Mm-hmm.
Always had an outlet to throw. And you know what? His receivers win one-on-one on the outside all the time. He has Jamar Chase, he has Higgins, and he has Boyd. And those guys win
Well,
in
how much of it
situational
do you
matchups.
think? I wanted to ask you, like, how much of it do you think? Like, we didn't. I think we ended up with one sack, by the way.
We did, yeah.
But how much of that do you think would you attribute to the weather,
A
and how
lot.
much of it was because Burrow is very he's very sneakily elusive.
Yes.
He gets himself out, and suddenly he's scampering out of the pocket and like running for a first down. And I was even watching, they had the Chiefs Bengals game on from 2021 the other night,
Yes. Right.
and he did the same thing in that game. There were a couple plays where he was dead and Chris Jones had his hands on him, and somehow he got out of there and
He has,
scrambled 10, 12 yards.
yeah, he has that ability, the escapability, and he outthinks people. He's similar to Brady in that, with his mind. So
Mm-hmm.
he knows pre-snap, right?
Yeah.
He knows what the defense is showing him up front. He knows his angle to get out of the pocket. He knows how much time he has. And he does a great job of getting rid of the ball.
Yeah. He
And you
does.
know what? He's got great receivers. Um, and honestly, I do attribute some of it to the weather, because it was slippery and the offense always has the advantage there.
Yeah.
What I couldn't understand was how Josh Allen couldn't really take advantage of it. And early in the game, he had Diggs wide open down the seam for a touchdown, and he overthrew it.
Yeah.
And right then I was like, damn, that's going to hurt, because that should have been 7 points. And now suddenly we're punting. And you know what? It was prophetic, because they only scored 10 points in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when you miss when you have your wide receiver one open down the seam when you're Josh Allen, you have to make that throw. You have to put it on him. He has to go in the end zone. The crowd has to get going. And that's a pivotal miss. I mean, it's a pivotal miss. And he never got right, for whatever reason. Cincinnati has a very good defensive line, obviously with Hendrickson and Hubbard and the boys, your boy in the middle. That
I mean, DJ Reader and Hill.
DJ Reader,
unbelievable.
I mean, they're really, really good. And honestly, they overwhelmed Buffalo's offensive line at times.
Yeah, they did. And I thought that at the end of that half, it's always when it's 14-0, you got to score. You have to put points on the board in a drive when you're down 14-0. And for them to come down, they came up empty. I think they went for it on 4th down because they were in a part of the field.
Yeah.
And then Cincinnati got the ball back and they came and scored again.
It was so demoralizing.
A touchdown.
It was awful. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really tough to be on the side of those games and to have to live through that Giant thing and go to bed with that disappointment and then wake up and then finally get to that game, which I thought would be an outstanding performance and a high scoring shootout game. And to have that weather and to have Buffalo just get completely thrown off and they were just outclassed.
Yeah.
Which really shocked me. So
yeah,
it was rough. And then obviously I came back.
Let's cover the last game. I mean, you were so right about Dak, and you were wrong the week before in the Tampa game. Yeah. Right. Because in that, and you had the same sort of thought process about him and for both games, but he proved you wrong against Tampa and had the game of his life. And you were just like, that was an anomaly. He's going to come back and just play terrible in this game.
Well, I said he was going to throw 2 interceptions. Right? I said he was going to throw 2 interceptions, and you asked me if I thought Purdy would throw any. I said no, and I think he'll throw 0.
Yeah. But God, that and the first interception Dak threw, the one to the left there, was so bad. It was both a bad throw and a bad decision.
It was late.
And it was just like when you see someone do something like that in a game, they almost never like turn things around. And it's like, oh, that's just one. It's like his thinking was off. And that game.
And a lot of that has to do with San Francisco has a very good defense and up front, especially their front 7. They're weak on the back end. I mean, they give up big plays. And that's part of the thing I think Philly's going to be able to exploit on them is like they have AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, and Jalen throws a really nice deep ball to those guys. Yeah. San Fran's going to struggle stopping that. I'm telling you right now, even with their front 7. The thing that's going to be interesting, I think, to watch is going to be Jalen's running ability against those 2 linebackers, Warner and Greenway. So they're fast and they can tackle. That is not a mismatch for with Jalen's speed. They can run just as fast as him. So the question that it's really going to be interesting to watch how those linebackers play on those RPOs. And if Jalen's not able to run for those chunk plays the way he usually is in games, because their offensive line is just so good, but their offensive line, this is not the Giants defensive line. I mean, no disrespect to Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams, who I think are good players, but like this is a step up in class when you're playing the 49ers front 7. So
before we jump into that, what do you think? Like, talk about like permanent damage. Like we think Buffalo probably sustained with losing that game. I mean, do you think Dallas has to do some soul searching also? Like that was so bad. I thought like for Dak.
Honestly, I don't. I think
really?
I think Dallas is an up and coming young team that, I mean, they have a lot of talent. I think it's disappointing, and I think everyone's disappointed in Dak. I don't think they're going to move on from him. I really don't see them like trying to get Lamar or trying to coax. They're never going to. Aaron Rodgers would never go to the NFC, but there's really no one out there for them that's a significant upgrade for them. I think that Dak will learn from it. They have a lot of good stuff going on around them. They'll probably add pieces. I know they already kept McCarthy, and Dan Quinn said he's coming back. The defense was not the problem. The defense played a spectacular game, I thought, for Dallas.
I think what they may want to do, I don't know if Cooper Rush is their plan, like long-term plan and he's a capable backup, but they may want to explore some stuff in the draft. And like, I kind of feel like Dak needs somebody who is going to be next on that bench behind him to sort of keep him. I don't know. I thought that was a really bad loss for him personally. Like he played so bad. Even that
Yeah.
play at the end when he was scrambling around in the end zone, he should have been sacked for a safety to end the game.
Safety. Yeah, that should have been
the fact that he didn't have the awareness to like throw that ball before that happened. He just, I don't know, awful game.
Yeah, he had a bad game. I would say overall, though, he's better than most. They paid him a lot of money.
Yeah.
They just re-upped his contract. So I don't think Dak's going anywhere. I think he needs to. He's still not. He's not an old quarterback. I mean, he has time to get better. He needs to improve.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he needs to learn from it. He needs to know you can't throw the ball late like that to the sideline. You know, but all these things are easier said than done. To me, the worst interception was the one he threw over the middle. I mean, who the hell was he even throwing it to?
Yeah.
There was no one even there. He that was just like panic and throw. It's like,
yeah.
And you just can't do that. You can't turn the ball over. Take it in your belly, get on the ground and punt the fucking ball.
Right.
Let your defense come out. Do not put them on
especially
a short field.
Because they actually did a very good job protecting him. Like we talked about it last week. It was, they had they gave up the fourth lowest amount of sacks in the league this year. Like, and it was their offensive line. I know Bosa was going to get home once probably anyway, but still they were protecting him.
Yeah. And that's why I don't think this is such a significant loss for Dallas. I think it's still, listen, they made it to the playoffs. They won a playoff game on the road. They went to a tough place to play in San Francisco with a team that had not lost, that had won 10 in a row, right, in their building, and they fought them till the end. Yeah. And their defense played well. And I'll take that. Like, I almost want in a young team, I'd rather see my defense hold up and my offense struggle with a young team on the road like that than go in there and get my ass kicked because I can't cover anybody. And so like the way the Giants did, like the Giants had no chance in that game once they were down and once they made that silly decision to go down 14-0 early in the game. There was never a scenario where I said to myself, wow, they can win this game. Suddenly I was like, can they cover the 14.5 in the teaser? Whatever it was like that I had, and no. So to me, the defense showing up is like you build your team in the NFL. I know it's such a passing league and everybody wants guys like Jamar Chase and these receivers and quarterbacks that can sling it and all this stuff. And that's important. But to me, you build your team from the defensive side of the ball. Yeah. And that's how you build a team, because at the end of the day, if you have a team that can hold the other team down, not let them score a lot of points, take the ball away, you can be in games and win a lot of games, that way.
Yeah.
But if you have a defense that can't stop anybody, you have no chance to win. Doesn't matter if you score 30, they're going to score 35. You score 40, they'll score 45. And that's not a recipe in the NFL for winning.
Yeah. So let's talk about these last two games. Starting off with the early game tomorrow at 3:00 in Philly. I'm curious, what your thoughts are. Because I think you've already put your bets in. I'm a little bit on the fence, but I'm pretty sure I know who I'm going with in this one. Why don't you kick us off? I hope we're on the same side, but we may not be.
What's interesting, it's interesting about this game is the line has not moved at all. So that's, the other line's been all over the place with the injuries and Mahomes and this and that. And this line's been 2.5 all week. I think the total's like 46 and change. To me, these are the two best teams like in the league. So like this is the Super Bowl. Like the winner of this game is going to win the Super Bowl, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I did my my DVOA analysis with my filtering, and I think I filtered it the right way in the sense that I removed, tell me if you agree with this. I basically removed the wild card weekend because Philly didn't play. I removed week 18 for both teams because, and I think it's just kind of like a throwaway week, especially because Jalen didn't play. And I took week 17 away also. And I think week 16, because I think he went out at halftime. I could like give or take that. But either way, with those filtered apply, San Francisco's ranked number 1 and Philadelphia's ranked number 2. So these, I agree with you. They're your best 2 teams.
Yeah.
They do certain things a little bit better than others, but by these numbers, San Francisco is a lot better from DVOA perspective than Philly is. They're 62.3, Philly 41.8. And yeah, it's sort of like where one is good, the other has a little bit of weakness. But I'll let you keep going, but I do have them ranked 1 and 2. Cincinnati is ranked 3rd, but that's different filtering. Let's just keep those filters on, but go ahead.
Yeah. So I think my feeling on this has been, I've been saying the whole season, I think Jalen Hurts is the MVP of the league when he's right. And certainly the totality of Philadelphia is a scary unit, man. I mean, their starters on both ends of the line, their coverage guys are elite. They have a quarterback that I think is way better than San Fran's quarterback in this spot. It's very hard to trust, I think, a rookie quarterback in this spot on the road. If San Fran was at home, I would feel a little bit differently about it. But Philadelphia is a hostile place, I think, in general to play. Philadelphia has been waiting, I think, all year for this opportunity. They are very good in every aspect. I mean, think about their skill position players. Are just, really hard to match up with, especially San Francisco, who struggles on the deep ball. So I would think that AJ Brown, I know he only had 3 catches against the Giants. I got to think he's going to have a big game. I got to think they're going to go to AJ Brown down the field, and he wins those one-on-ones all the time. And when he's doubled, you have Devonta Smith coming on those deep crosses on the deep posts or on the corners, and Jalen puts it on him and he runs away from people. So San Fran, I think, is going to struggle on the back end. I like Philadelphia in this game, laying less than a field goal. And to me, they're either going to lose the game. I don't see a 1-point game. I think it would be very odd to see a 1 or a 2-point game. You don't see many of those in the league. I mean, obviously that's why you want to get around 3 and 7 all the time and 10. So I'm going to say, even though San Francisco, I think, is a very complete team in every way. Like, again, these are 2 really equal teams in terms of talent. The coaching advantage is tough. I mean, I think most people would probably say Shanahan has an advantage here over Sirianni. But, Sirianni, every time you doubt the guy, he just wins.
Yeah.
And I think he conveys a certain confidence in his team. I think he knows he has not just the starters, but the backups are very capable. The rotational guys he brings in on the line are very capable of making plays.
Sirianni also is. I mean, one thing I'll say about Shanahan, he was incredibly conservative in that game against Dallas.
Yeah,
there were so many situations, whether it was the end of the half or the end of the game or punting at midfield, or actually he was on. There was a situation. I don't know if you remember this in the Dallas game, and I'm pretty sure they were on the Dallas 40 or 45 yard line. Okay. And they had a 3rd and 8, or maybe it was 3rd and 9. And he throws the deep ball. So clearly he was not thinking about, like most coaches, when they're 3rd and 9 on the 35, 40 yard line, they're thinking, I need 2 plays to get a first down because I am going for it. But he throws the deep ball incomplete.
Yep.
And then the next one, he hands it off and he punts. Like, it was clear from the very beginning of that, when he was in 3rd and long there, that if he didn't get it, he wasn't going to go for it. Sorry, he didn't go for it. He just didn't get it. And
he punted.
Yeah. But he was thinking the whole time, I'm going to pin them back, even though I'm in a field goal game right here.
Yeah, but 2 things about that. Number one, he was playing to Dak. He wasn't afraid of Dak. So he said, my defense is so good, I'm going to pin this ball. I'm not going to let my quarterback do something stupid and give them the ball on the 50-yard line and give them a short field. So, like, these are like some of the things, like Dable should have done that. Dable should have done what he did. There's no reason that Dable should have gone for that on 4th and 8.
Polar opposite of Shanahan. Shanahan was by far the most conservative coach last weekend.
Totally
opposite. And probably will be this weekend.
Totally opposite approach, but he had a defense that enabled to do it. The thing is, against Philadelphia's potent offense in their building, you're not going to get away with that shit.
Right. So the question is, will he will he coach? It's not his nature to be aggressive. So it's going to be really interesting to see what he does this week, especially given that he's got a young rookie quarterback who is trying at all costs to keep out of harm's way, right?
I think it's going to be very interesting if Philadelphia takes the lead early in this game and San Francisco's down 10 points and they have to be more aggressive than he would like.
Yeah.
And then see if Purdy's able to do it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's the interesting chess match with the coaching. Like, I know he wants to play it close to the vest because to him, he's good with his special teams. He has a great kicker. You keep a game close, anything in the fourth quarter, Gould's going to win the game for you most times.
Yeah.
And with that defense, he has a belief, that they're going to stop the other team. The thing is, again, with those deep passes, Philadelphia is really good, the best in the league, I believe, at those deep passes. You know what I'm saying? And that's hard to stop off an RPO offense because you get so geared toward coming and reading and stopping either the running back or Jalen from running that the one time he fakes the handoff, takes two steps back and launches it to AJ Brown, he's going to win that battle. AJ Brown.
Yeah.
He's a freak.
You like Philly in this game?
I do. I like Philly in this game. I think they're destined to win this game. And I would not surprise me if they won the Super Bowl.
Wow. Okay. So my take is, and at the risk of being compared to Lee Corso, going back to EAGLES, Eagles.
You are wearing. What are you wearing?
That's the
dog mask.
Yeah, it's the mask from when they went to the Super Bowl. Remember that was like super popular?
That's right. Yes, when they beat Brady.
Yep.
With Nick Foles.
So I'm on Philly too. I think it's gonna be as we know, it's a hard place to play. They're now, it's been great for Purdy to be able to play at home in those games and have that home field advantage, and he was comfortable. But this is going to be uncomfortable tomorrow. And there's going to be, that stat, which we didn't talk that much about last week, but the fact that the Eagles have 60 sacks on the season.
70.
70 now. Did they get that?
I think they had 70 going into the game last week.
They're leading the league in sacks by orders of magnitude. The next person, I think, is like 20 behind them, next team.
100%.
And so they're going to be coming all day long. And I think they're gonna focus on stopping the run at all costs, and it's sort of like make Purdy like same as what should have been Dallas's approach, which is make Purdy beat you with his arm, and see what happens, right? And I think that combined with Jalen being at full strength, and they also had the advantage of being able to, like these guys didn't have big numbers for Philadelphia last week. They're offensive guys. The running back, what's his name?
Sanders.
So Sanders didn't have that many carries. I think he only had like 18 or 19 carries last week. So he got to sit out the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
AJ Brown, like these guys got, a little bit more rest than San Francisco did. Plus San Francisco has to travel. Philadelphia is an awful place to play for a visiting team. And I like the Eagles too.
Yeah, me too. I think I see points. Listen, there is a blueprint to score on the Eagles. I know the night that Rodgers went in there on that night game, Green Bay, the combination of the runs and the deep ins and the deep throws over the middle that are there. Eagles, I think, really protect the outside well with their corners, but they have a soft, deep, that middle belly. I think you can beat them on some throws. Chris Watson had an unbelievable night that night against. And listen, Purdy is not Aaron Rodgers. So, but there are opportunities down the field against this Eagles defense, as good as they are a corner. There have been games where they have let up points. So, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. The weather's going to be not right. It's going to be warm, right? 50s. I could see points here. I don't see a defensive slog type game.
I do. I actually thought the total was pretty high for what I'm expecting. Yeah. I kind of think, again, Shanahan's going to be very conservative. Like I thought, like when Dak threw that pick last week and 49ers got the ball, the fact that they didn't score a touchdown there,
Yeah.
was
That
it
kept
was like
Dallas in the game.
and a lot of people had the over last week. They were like, "Oh God, here we go."
Yeah.
It was just like the beginning of an under type game, and I just think with his conservative play, and plus Philly is going to run the ball a lot. I know they're going to keep them honest with that deep ball, and I bet you they will connect on it for sure.
Yeah.
But I see them as wanting to control the clock, running a lot of RPO and keeping the ball on the ground and trying to find Jalen, Jalen
Yeah.
basically getting runs off,
Yeah.
and keeping it low scoring, and I know San Francisco is going to want to try to keep the ball out of Purdy's hands. And because the one weakness that Philadelphia has is their rush defense
Yes.
on those DVOA numbers. Like I think
Yeah.
they're like Philadelphia's defense is the
They're
rush.
middle of the pack.
Well,
16.
not middle. They're ranked 10th for that
Mhm.
cut that I did. So that's
Yeah.
not great. That's like actually the highest number. And their passing offense is ranked 12th. So if their rush defense is ranked 10th and San Francisco's rush offense is number 1,
Yeah. McCaffrey, obviously.
they're
Yeah.
looking at that thinking, and especially, combine that with Purdy being a rookie, there's just like, let's just find anything that we can do to run this ball and
Yeah.
get yards on the ground and control the field position. Like it just feels like another under to me. And
So
it's also it's the NFC Championship game, so they're going to be a little more conservative,
yeah. So this is also a week, and I've spoken to Gerard and some other players, and I know players that love to bet these 14 teasers. So
Yeah.
this is a week where they're definitely going to try and hit that for a big number. It's the last opportunity to do that. So the talk was, you would tease the total to 60 and play under in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I think most players would think of it and says, give me over 33.5.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see how people do that and their thoughts about that. Like, to me, with the weather being good and Phil and the opportunity with the skill players on both sides of this of the ball. I mean, you still have, as good as Philly is covering guys, you still have Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, McCaffrey. I mean, you're telling me you're going to hold these guys, you're going to see a 17-10 game or a 20-16 game. I don't see it, man. I think that the defenses, as good as they are going to be pressed against with all the talent on both sides of the ball. So it's going to be interesting to see the players in the league who do the 14 teasers, which way they go on those totals.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I think will be an interesting thing that will come back to bite someone in that 14 thing. That total.
I just don't, and I'm not a totals guy, but if I were forced to bet a total, and I know, by the way, a lot of people I'm glad you brought this up, because a lot of people who are chasing in leagues that want to make a bet this weekend, have no choice. Like you're sitting up there looking at the leader who's got 400,000 points and you have 25 or 50. You're thinking, all right, I need to take a swing here. I don't advise doing that for people that are in the lead, but if you have to take a swing, you have to pick a total. And so you're looking at this, and if that were me chasing, I would say, you know what? This is the number 1 defense and the number 2 defense in the league. And because of that, I'm going under.
You're going under. Okay.
Yeah.
Well said. Very good point. And you swayed me potentially, not that I would bet the total. I mean, my bets are in. I'm not going to reveal them now because people listen, and I don't want to, give up my position to people that I'm competing with. I mean, that would be silly, but I will say this. I don't, in either of these games, I see them being competitive games. I don't see a Philly Giant thing here.
Yeah.
So
I wanted to ask you that, because if there were one blowout, this week between these two games, and I'm not saying there will be, but if there were one, which one do you think it would be, and who would it be?
Oh God, that's so tough to. I guess with Mahomes' ankle, if he's not able to go, and you have Chad Henne in there and Burrow the way he kind of owns KC anyway, I don't know about a blow. I mean,
meaning
necessarily
like a 14 teaser wrecking blowout, like a 21.
Yeah,
because I think for me that answer is once again Philly.
Yeah, because Philly at home and San Francisco, just with if they're not able to move the ball and Purdy turns it over, it's really hard to play Philly that way, because Philly, they will feast in that scenario.
Yeah,
because
and
they're
it's not like
very
Purdy doesn't have the experience of being down 14 or 21 when the whole place knows that he's got to throw the ball, and you have a team that has 70 sacks coming after you. How is he gonna lead them
Let
back?
me ask you this. Do you give any value at all to when Purdy was at Iowa State and they went to Oklahoma and Jalen was the quarterback at Oklahoma and they played a 41-40 game?
Did they really? I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Oh no, it was an amazing game.
Wow.
And so they have faced off against each other
Yeah,
not long ago in college and played an epic game.
I know, but that's
You
like,
think
I
I'm
mean,
saying,
that kind of
do you
like,
give do you give any sort of does that enter Purdy's mind at all and say, I've competed with this guy. I
no,
know I can play with this guy.
I don't think so at all. Because of one thing, and that is Big 12 defenses.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I
Okay.
mean? It's just like people just running up and down the field. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not as bad as the Pac-12, but
Yeah.
it's close with
Yeah.
those with 40s and 50s and 60s, like Texas scoring 60 on people. Like it's
Yeah.
just it's so far from reality in the NFL,
But I'll tell you, if something plays out that like that again, it'll be really be interesting at that point. Obviously, you'd want to be on San Fran plus the 2.5 if you're going to find yourself in a 1 point game. I
Oh yeah.
mean,
And I
you know what
do
I'm
think the
saying?
points could, with these kickers and these extra points, and these defenses, how
Yeah.
suddenly it's 7-6.
Yeah.
You know,
Two or one.
as soon as it's 7-6, you're like, holy shit, the 2.5 could play. You know what I mean?
Oh man, it's so fun. Yeah, it's going to be. I think that game's going to be. I don't know the answer to your question about the blow. I don't think there'll be a blowout, honestly.
Yeah.
I really, I think these games are going to be highly competitive. I don't see. I think Kansas City, even Mahomes is a gamer. Well, let's talk about this
Yeah,
game.
let's move to the next game. So all right, we're both on the Eagles.
Yeah, we are.
Okay. So next game, and we'll say, and our line's 2.5, right? So Philly, Cello's on Philly, Jack's on Philly. So let's move to game 2. Cincinnati. Now our line for this one, let's say current line, I want to make a bet, right?
Yep.
Is it 2.5? Is it 1.5?
The line today I thought was it KC now -1.5? I mean, the line's been all over the place, Jack.
Yeah, and it ended up exactly where it started.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, I was
well,
looking at
no, it
the line
started with
history. It's where it came out.
it started with KC -3 early.
Well, not
When,
where we
not where you are, but in
yeah, not where
Vegas.
we had it.
In Vegas on Monday night, the line was -3 for a millisecond.
Are you
And then it went,
serious?
yes, I look at covers.com and I know the history of the line, but that was bet down immediately to 1.5. And then off the Mahomes injury concern, it went as high as KC getting 2.5
Yeah.
early in the week. And then it settled back down to, I think, where it is now, which is KC -1.5. Is that where we are?
Yeah, Chiefs -1.5. And that's where
Right.
we opened on the 22nd. The very
Yeah.
first line
Right.
we got was
Yeah.
Chiefs -1. Then it
Yep.
went to 1.5. And then you're right, like midweek, it shifted over. Even like since he was laying 2.5 at one point. So
Yes.
if you like the
Yes.
Chiefs on the 24th, you could have gotten them +2.5, which is great.
Yeah. It's
So
amazing.
now they're laying 1.5. So that'll be our line. But what are you thinking on this one?
Well, listen, obviously everybody knows that Burrow's record against KC is never lost. And Cincinnati is coming off, I think a magnificent performance on the road. And they look like the team that was in the Super Bowl last year. And they look like a team that's going to get back to the Super Bowl. But I am very hesitant about betting against Mahomes in this game and Andy Reid at home. Even though they may be favored now, they feel like they're underdogs in this game. I think that a lot of people think that the Cincinnati and Burrow are going to have their way with them because listen, they just have a hard time. Cincinnati is a very difficult team to defend, and Kansas City, they do have Chris Jones up front, but they're not particularly strong defensively. I don't think they've gotten better against the pass, I think recently, but it's going to be a challenge, man. But to me, it's just the heart and the guts of Mahomes. Is there an injury on Kelsey? Did I see that he was questionable with something,
No, I mean, I'll
or
look it up real quick,
did
but
I read that wrong?
Kelsey is, it says questionable.
Yeah.
He was listed as full practice participant Friday, listed questionable for Sunday's championship game.
All right, so he's going to play. I'm just wondering what his ailment is.
Designation.
Well, listen, man, Joe Burrow is Joe Cool. Cincinnati's defense is playing at an elite level. There's no question about it. It's undeniable how much confidence they have, and that they've been playing with their corner play, their safety play, and the guys up front that we say all the time on the defensive line that wreak havoc. So the thing is, how mobile is Mahomes really going to be? You know, like if he's limping around, and he's going to get shot up with the Toradol and the lidocaine and all that
Yeah,
stuff. And
I don't know about you, but I don't see he's gonna be fine. He's
you
gonna
think
come
so?
out there. Yeah, I don't think he'll even be a little bit hobbled. Like I actually think it's all hype. Like
Okay.
he is totally gonna. I'm fully expecting him. I never factored the injury in. I'm still not into this handicap. Like he is going to be fine. And honestly,
Yeah.
so is Kelsey. Kelsey's going to be, and the people are going to be like, "Oh my God, wait a second! I thought he was supposed to be hurt." They're going to be saying that about Mahomes too. Both of them are going to be fine in my mind. I mean, I could be wrong, but that's how I'm handicapped.
The question I have is, do you have belief that Spagnuolo can draw up something to slow down this Burrow machine, which is he gets rid of the ball so quick, and it's very hard to pressure him. And when he does escape the pocket, he escapes up the middle, and you have to have somebody there. And then right before he gets hit, he throws it away to these receivers that win these one-on-one battles all the time on these slants and on these ins and these digs. I mean, they're very hard to cover, these guys. So
Yeah.
I think it's a close game. I think Mahomes, Andy Reid is so creative and such a mastermind on offense. Like he will have answers to beat Cincinnati's defense. I'm not worried about that. And this I think will be a high scoring game as well. I think unless the weather's bad, I think there's going to be some points. But at the end of the day, it's Andy Reid, it's Mahomes at home, and I think Mahomes is a little bit tired of this I can't beat Joe Burrow thing. So I'm going to go Kansas City.
Okay. I'm going Cincy, and it's not because I'm from Ohio, as we can all see behind me. I'm a Browns fan, true to the Cleveland Browns, but I'm on Cincinnati in this game. I did go back and forth a little bit this week on this one. Unlike I was very set on Philly for the other. But I just think Cincinnati is, I think they're in such good form right now, coming off, even going into that Buffalo game and after they won it, certainly. But the fact that they have this history against the Chiefs, I think for me, it comes down to just one thing. And that is, and I've been saying this on the podcast a bunch over the past month, and it's their defense. Their defense is not good enough to get them back to the Super Bowl. And I've felt that like all year long.
You mean Kansas City's defense?
Sorry. Yeah. The Chiefs.
Because you were just talking about Cincinnati's.
Oh, sorry.
I just want you to confuse people.
Yeah. The Chiefs defense is not good enough to get them to the Super Bowl this year. They are. And with how dominant Cincinnati's offense is and can be, I mean, we see it every week. Their wide receivers and especially their running game. For me, like you look at these DVOA numbers, and when I'm including the divisional, week and the wild card in the last 4 weeks of the season when I do my like recency bias on this one, the Chiefs' rush defense is ranked 24th in the NFL. That is horrible. Okay.
Yep.
So with Perrine and Mixon, both very capable runners.
Yes.
Like, I think that's the strategy. If you're Zach Thomas, right? That's the name. I think that's the strategy, is that you're going to beat these guys. Zach Taylor. Sorry. Zach Taylor just established the run, and these guys are ready to run. Now, I do fear on the flip side of the ball, I can't believe how well, speaking of running backs.
McKinnon.
No.
Oh, Pacheco from Rutgers.
Pacheco.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's very good.
he runs angry. Like,
Yep.
I mean, he's the most angry running back that's playing this weekend. Like,
Yeah.
I actually, he gives me the most fear.
I like him.
Kelsey, of course. Kelsey,
Yeah.
I'm afraid of, and he's going to get his yards and he'll probably score. But this guy Pacheco, the way he's been running is terrifying. And that's the only
I
thing
know.
that I'm actually scared of
He
in this
runs,
game. It's like a variable.
he runs so hard.
Yeah. Oh my God. And
But you know who else? You
he's
know
like
who else runs
possessed.
hard in this game is P. Ryan.
Yeah.
P. Ryan is a wrecking ball.
I know.
His
do you
legs.
agree with me that Pacheco is like possessed the way he's been running?
Yeah, I mean, he's a rookie, and you know, the only thing you worry about with rookies in big games is, are they going to fumble? You know, and that always factors into these games, and you just hope that there's not that turnover. You know, that you know, for the team that you're betting on, that in the red zone they do something stupid and that changes the game, just like it did with Jacksonville. You know, they had a chance there. You know,
and I think you know, the other thing, like you said last week, because you've been like 1 week off on on what you've said about Dallas. And I was thinking, you know, Cello's going to be a week off with his prediction about how much Burrow gets sacked. Like it's going to happen this week. And they have the sort of sack mindset.
Yes.
And they're at home and they won't be playing on a wet field where, you know, if I'm wrong about this, I won't be too surprised if suddenly he's running for his life and he gets sacked 5 or 6 times. And
you know something,
that stat comes true that you keep talking about.
Yes, and honestly, I think that very well could happen, because I think people, when they think of Kansas City, they're not thinking defense. No one thinks that about Kansas City. They think about Pacheco, they think about Mahomes, they think about Kelsey, they think about Andy Reid. They don't think about Spags and how these guys with Chris Jones and the other guys, you know, can get to Burrow and maybe exploit the fact that, they are starting 3 backups on the offensive line. And Buffalo didn't get to them, but Buffalo didn't have Von Miller, who was their number 1 prize acquisition on defense, that unfortunately blew out his knee.
Yeah.
You know, Casey has Chris Jones. Chris Jones is a game wrecker.
Yeah.
Chris Jones is TJ Watt. He can single-handedly change a game. I've seen him do it.
You think Mahomes is better than Burrow?
I think
now.
I think it's a coin flip. I think it's a coin flip. You know, I think they're both so brilliantly smart. They're so incredibly aware in the pocket, and they're so elusive, and they can make every throw. So, I mean, I think that you're splitting hairs when you're trying to compare them. They're elite level quarterbacks. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, the worst quarterback in these 4 is obviously Purdy, because he doesn't have the resume, you know. But I see a close game. I see this game could go either way.
Yeah.
But I will say, if Spagnuolo can get to Burrow and they don't let him leak out of the pocket the way that Buffalo did, to step up and buy time and either run or find those guys on those crosses. If Spags has a guy there to just put him on the ground, then Cincinnati, you know, could struggle, because if they're struggling to protect, any team that struggles to protect in the NFL has a hard time scoring points.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, your offensive line is so critical. The fact that Buffalo, and I think some of it had to do with the weather too, the slippery surface, and that's not going to be there tomorrow. So, you know, I'm on Kansas City. You know, this game is a coin flip game to me. It would really be surprising to me if somebody won this game by more than 7 points.
Yeah, I agree. And I also, you know, speaking of totals, I think this one's a little low. I think, like, I was fully expecting to see the 51 number or even go over that.
Where is it?
It's 48. You know, it's crept up a little bit. It's had a lot more movement and I think that's, you know, probably due to the Mahomes.
Yeah, I think most people would tease that number.
You know, only went up a point, came out 47.5, ended at 48.5. So it's steaming up a little bit, but I still think that's low, given KC's defense, how powerful the Cincinnati offense has been.
Right.
The Kansas City offense is ranked number 1 in the league.
Yes. And they should be.
I don't know. I just see a lot of points. I mean,
Me too.
Cincinnati is more balanced as a team. Like, they don't really have any weaknesses in the sense that, you know, they're overall ranked like 12th, I think. Like, there's not one thing that they do is ranked below 12.
Yeah.
right? But their overall, I think, is 6 or 7. So yeah, I think that.
So your 4-team teaser would be Philly and under, Cincy and over.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
your 4-team teaser. That's
That's
the
right.
one you
And
would.
if I
That's the
and
one
I
you would tell Gerard to push all in on.
I would say, yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because let's talk about that now a little bit. Like, I think for people that are in these year-long leagues that are coming to an end, and if you're, my first piece of advice, and I sent this out to the league this morning, is if you're near the lead, I don't think you should be betting parlays and teasers or really any gimmicks. I think you should be taking your shots with straight bets. Okay, so that's my first piece of advice. My second piece of advice is leave some powder in the keg. Like, do not get through this weekend with 0. Like, because of what's happened in the past, even if you have, don't, like, you've got to leave something on the table, even if it's 25,000 points. If you have 100,000, like, leave 25,000 so that you can fire in a parlay at the Super Bowl and you have something left.
Yes.
You don't want to be at 0. So those two things are important. Now, so if you have to move to a 2-team teaser or parlay, I like Philadelphia and Cincinnati. And I probably like that better as a teaser. And I know it's like not a long teaser and everything, and you're crossing over, but you are getting more than a field goal with the Eagles, and you're getting more than a touchdown with Cincinnati. So I like that teaser a lot. And on the total side, I like the over in the second game. Chiefs, Cincy, I think, goes over for sure. And in the first game, I just see it as an absolute brawl. 2 best defensive teams. It's got to stay under. So yeah,
there's going to be a lot of guys betting that. There's going to be a lot of guys taking shots. I think account ride shots with 14 teasers, especially guys that have 2 teams. What I told Gerard to do, and he's ahead of me in both teams, is with the lower one. If he's going to go account ride, I would do it with the lower team, and maybe then throw some parlays in there to try and really get to DB at the 400 level, and leave that other team alone. Don't even touch it, because he'll have 178 going into the last week, no matter what, with a team.
Again, I don't think anyone should try to take over the lead.
He's going to do it.
And if
I was DB, I wouldn't bet.
Right. But I'm just saying, if you're chasing, there's no reason to think, oh, I've got to get into first place. You just need to get within 1 bet of him, right? Like, if he has 400,000, get yourself to 225.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are almost there now. So it's like, again, I think my word of caution is don't be too aggressive this weekend. Leave yourself something.
Well, the Python already missed that boat. So I pushed all in, and because I felt like at 100, I really didn't have much of a chance, because I feel like there's so many guys ahead of me that, I need to at least try and get myself to a position where I have a shot in the Super Bowl to hit something. And, I'm just being realistic about it. But either way, I think the games are going to be great. I think it's going to be, a fun watch. I know Mason obviously is sending out these hype Eagle videos to everyone.
So wait a minute, are you guys all getting together? I'm getting on a plane tomorrow, but are you?
I know you're going out east. Yeah, I mean, you're going to Denver. No, I'm going right here next door to Todd's. It's easy. It's walking distance.
Okay.
Fully catered, the whole thing, and we're just gonna, all of us.
Nice.
I'm playing football in the morning like I always do.
Yeah.
And roll it right into that. It'd be fun.
Well, good luck with all your action. Good luck to everyone at home and all wantomakeabet.com members. I know there's a lot of leagues coming down to the end here, and it's been an amazing season. I sent out a survey, or I will be sending out a survey with this week's newsletter. Please take some time to respond if you can. We'd love the feedback on how the year went for you and anything that you think that we should be doing for next year. I have a lot of things in mind that I'd like to change on the site, specifically around teaser and payouts and options for teasers that are kind of like would bring us more to like where the market is on those bet offerings, and just try to match up there. But more importantly, we just want to hear from everybody. So that'll be coming out in the newsletter later today. And good luck to everyone with your bets. I always say, good luck. You're going to need it, because there's bounces and there's calls that happen and there's freakish things that happen in these games that you need a little bit of luck to end up on the winning side, right?
Yeah, you sure do. You always do. Luck, it's better to be lucky than good. That's what they always say.
Yeah. And as Gary Player would say, the more I practice, the luckier I get.
Gary, it was great. All right, everyone, have a great enjoy the games. I'm hoping for two really good games. I just don't want like a blowout type of game where it's just not interesting. I want it to be right down to the end. Would be so great for the league and for everyone to be engaged and everyone to have a chance late, within a score. I think that would be phenomenal football, and that's what the NFL deserves. The four really good teams left. There's no flukes here. These teams are really good, and I think we're in for some really fun football tomorrow.
Me too. And I think we're going to get a Super Bowl that the media and the league actually wants the least, which is the smaller market teams in Cincinnati and Philadelphia versus Kansas City and San Francisco. But hey, we'll see what happens.
That's it, brother. All right, man. Great year.
Yeah.
Have a safe trip out to Denver.
And, Thanks. And we'll talk. Maybe we'll do a recap show Monday night, or I'll be around at the hotel, and then we'll definitely be back before the Super Bowl for one more pod.
Great. Good luck, everyone.
All right. Take care.
Take it easy, buddy.